G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game. Spawning in on the south side of the map in the color red, playing as the Delhi Sultanate. We've got Vertex. It's going to be very tempting for me to call him Vortex throughout this game, so if I do, apologies. It's actually not Vortex. This is his cousin, his younger cousin, Vertex. I don't actually think they're related, but I'm pretty confident Vertex is Spanish, so I don't know what it is with the Spanish guys and Vortexes and Vertexes and all of that kind of stuff, but anyway, let's talk about our other player for today. Spawning in on the north side, in the color green, as the English, we've got Diakusi. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hill and Dale. If you're enjoying this Age of Empires 4 content, I encourage you to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel, helps out the video, helps out the content. And let's talk a little bit about this matchup, a fun matchup here. Delhi versus the English. For anybody who doesn't know, I am a big fan of the English. I love my English. I kind of miss my English. There's a part of me that just says, Drongo, forget the Delhi, forget the Chinese, just go back to English. English is the way, it's the future. It is the one true calling, and I'm kind of tempted to channel my inner crackety here and just say, well, I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to make ranges. The whole time, I'm just going to make ranges, but probably not. But this is a fun matchup because it largely comes down to how the English player wants to play against the Delhi Sultanate player. Because realistically, there's two options for you. Number one, you can look to try and fight this out in Feudal Age. You can look to try and outmass the Delhi player. You can look to try and deny their sacred sites from them and hopefully, eventually, outfight them, outscale them. But if you do that, you're going to be up for a tricky game because the Delhi Sultanate have got access to the Ghazi Raider, which is obviously a wonderful new unit, but they've also got access to the Tower of Victory, which they can use to buff up their archers. And it always just makes for a bit of a dangerous fight going for that. Me, personally, I love going for 2 TCs. I think 2 TCs against the Delhi Sultanate makes a lot of sense, but you do have to delay it, though. I think it's important that you always open with units. Want to just make sure you've got longbows out there, got some spearmen out there as well, and then you can start thinking about that second TC. So we'll look to see exactly how Diakusi plays it. There's also the option of going into Fast Castle, but I think that's a lot less popular, at least these days. So let's take a look at the base of Diakusi and see what landmark he goes for. I'm suspecting it's probably going to be a council hall. I don't think you're going to see anything crazy here. Okay. Now, I got a little bit scared. Not scared, but a little bit excited, I guess you could say. You know when you're young and you kiss the girl that you've been eyeing off for a while, like those kind of butterflies in your stomach. I had that for a little bit just there. You know, the council hall got cancelled and I said, oh. And then it was the council hall again. Sad times, sad times. On the other side of the map, though, we have got the Tower of Victory coming up. So yeah, this was my suspicion that Vertex can probably just look to play Tower of Victory, look to just play an early game, and he should have a good time. Now, one thing to note, sacred sites are actually in favor of Diakusi, I would argue. Because normally when it comes to this matchup, or just in general, right? One of the big things that you're looking at is 3 sacred sites, one in the middle, one in the west, one in the east, or one in the north, one in the south. You know, normally they're pretty separate. But here you've got 2 sacred sites that are really close to each other. And the reason why this favors Diakusi is because Diakusi is going to be running an infantry-based composition. At least he should be running infantry, which means that he can just keep his infantry nice and locked in here, throw down an outpost, make sure he's got that extra little bit of attack speed coming through from his network of castles, and he's absolutely happy as. Now, has he scouted out these double sacred sites? I think he has. I think he knows that they're both down here. So just simply using this as a leverage point or an anchor point and pushing off it, it's going to give him a huge advantage. The one thing to note, though, is Vertex has the ability to utilize a single sacred site and use that to carry him throughout that feudal age. It's going to be an option for him. We'll look to see whether he plays it. But I think this matchup's largely, on a map like this, it's going to really come down to micro. And it's going to be about whether Vertex is going to be able to wrestle control of these sacred sites away from Diakusi. Diakusi, one of the big things, as I mentioned before, it's always going to be about making sure that second town center comes down eventually. He needs to get that down. Ideally, you want to do it before, say, the 12-minute mark. Because the Delhi Sultanate, they really start to pop off at that stage. But let's check in with our players. As the age ups come through, Blacksmith going to be coming out here for Vertex nice and early. Not going to be looking for any kind of military production. Instead, just going to be mixing it up. We see that he's picked up Sanctity as well, thrown that in queue. All of the upgrades starting to come in at the moment. Still got survival techniques going in. Double broadaxe, of course, and of course, specialized pick. He's already picked up his wheelbarrow nice and early. But we do see an archery range going to be thrown down. No real surprise here. I'm suspecting we've got ranged armor, ranged attacks, ranged attack, ranged armor coming through for him. So everything going pretty standard here for Vertex. Let's check in on the other side of the map, though, because Duyakusi is actually looking to throw down a barracks nice and early. Now, we've already got the outpost with the mining camp coming up as well here. So just going to be leaving this villager on gold on the front, which to me indicates that we're probably going to be having a pretty thick feudal age here coming in. I find it interesting that he goes into the barracks this early. Now, obviously, he's yet to scout his enemy, but to me, one of the things you've got to be so careful of when you're playing up against the Delhi Sultanate is if they just go only archers. Because if they go only archers and you're like 50% longbow, 50% spear, just in case, well, then you just die. Because the archers are faster than the longbows. Keep in mind here, 1.12 movement speed. Compare that over to the archer, which has got a base movement speed of 1.25. So it means that you can get on top of the longbows with your archers. Of course, you can try and kite with your longbows eventually back towards the town center, back towards your production. But it's one of those things where it is difficult if you do take a fight and your enemy is prepared and you're not. But fortunately, we do have a stable coming down here for Vertex, which means Duyakusi are going to be in a pretty good spot. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of the just the mass archer build. I mean, we've seen this even early on in the beta for Age of Empires. I remember watching, was it Hutt that was doing it? I think it was some damn Australian. It was either Hutt or Yag, was one of the two. It was just mass archers. It was no, actually it was Hutt. I remember he did like a 4-range archery opening. I can't remember who it was, but it was against the English that he was doing it. And I think it might have been the Mongols that he was doing it on. Either the Mongols or the Holy Roman Empire. Anyway, it was something of beauty. But the Ghazi Raider does get spotted out on the map, so he's going to know that spears need to be added in. Upgrades coming through, of course, going to be the ranged armor, ranged attack here, as you would expect to be coming through. And good. We are seeing the signs of a second TC coming through here for Duyakusi. Very good stuff. Now, one other thing to note is if you would like to watch either of these guys, both of these guys do stream on Twitch. I'll make sure I leave a link in the description to where you can watch them. Duyakusi_Twitch, I'm sure you can imagine. Vertex, I suspect it's probably going to be something similar, but as I said, I'll leave a link down there in the description for you so you can check these guys out. Because they're both pretty good players. They're both Conk 3, I can tell you that much. I think they're both sitting at about 17 or 1800. So a pretty decent rating, but take a look at this. We've got some archers moving out now. We've got ourselves a little bit of a forward wall, and I love this. I think this is so creative, and more players should be looking to do this. It just annoys you, right? Because you're trying to run from one side to the other. Now I've got to run slightly longer, and maybe it means I get flanked. Maybe it means I don't get to my army in time, or I don't get to my cap point in time. You can see here with the sacred site. Maybe that's what he needs to go for. Speaking of that sacred site, we do have Piety on the way in. He's already picked up Sanctity, but one thing to note, where is the scholar? Vertex. You played a pixel-perfect game so far in this game, and yet we don't see a single scholar on the field just yet. He's got one scholar sitting inside the stable. We've got one inside the mosque, and yet we've got nothing on this field right now. And there needs to be. Now, has he spotted the second sacred site or the third sacred site? I don't think he has. See, he spotted this one. So it's very curious to me that he's yet to go for that. Ghazi Raid is going to be moving around here. This should be an easy cleanup here for Vertex early on in this game. And you can see the numbers just overwhelming his opponent. Fortunately, that outpost is going to provide a little bit of cover fire here. He's looking to try and pick up the fortification. If he's able to get that one up, he should be able to buy himself a little bit more time. But running him around in circles, Duyakusi going to be able to hold it down for the moment. And we do see that the scholars have now ungarrisoned finally. But now that that fortification is through, not only do you have extra health to contend with, you've also got that extra fire armor. So buildings don't have fire armor. If we take a look here, their natural state is no fire armor. That means that when you throw a torch at them, they receive full damage from that. So 13 torch damage. However, when you fortify an outpost, not only do they get that extra health, you can see plus 1,000, they also get plus 5 fire armor, which means that instead of that torch doing 13 damage, it's now only doing 8 damage. And that's a large loss of damage. And as a result, Vertex says, well, I guess we just can't go in that direction. But fortunately, he does look to come north. Ideally, I would have loved to have seen this coming out as soon as we research Sanctity. So around the 7-minute 20, 7-minute 30 mark is when this guy should have been standing on the sacred site. Instead, you're going to be about 2 minutes late, which means that so far we've missed out on 240 gold a minute, and that's not a small amount of gold, right? And you got to remember that stacks up as well, because it means that now all of a sudden you're later to castle age, or you're later to get your next scholar out. You know, there's so many things that fall off because of that. So I think it's really important that Delhi players need to be looking to get that scholar out onto that sacred site as quickly as they possibly can. Often, when you're researching Sanctity, I like to just send them out a little bit early. So let's say you've got 20 seconds left on Sanctity, pop the scholars out, send them out, because then now that you don't have the scholars inside the mosque, Sanctity, instead of being 20 seconds, is going to be like 24 seconds or something like that. So you get a little bit more time as well to walk out there. But we do see towards the north side, it looks like that push is going to be coming through from Vertex. Going to be opting for a raid here. Now, keep in mind, Diakusi's already got the walls in, so he'll know well and truly about it. He's not too fussed about this, and if he really wanted to, he's going to be able to do another set of walls on the backside here, and should be absolutely fine with it. In the middle of the map, we do see Diakusi doing a really good job of just preventing these sacred sites on the south. One of the things I'd love to see from him is just the addition of walls. And it doesn't even have to be a wall completely encompassing the sacred site, but just preventing the enemy from really getting that direct fight onto the sacred site is what I would love to see. But now that scout in the north going to be looking to deny the sacred site. Vertex making another mistake. And I tell you what, just watching these guys play, obviously both of them are really good, you know, 1700 plus, yet still compared that to, say, the really top level guys, and you can see that the differences are quite stark when it comes to making these mistakes. And it looks like, fortunately, the Ghazi Raiders will get there onto the sacred site just in time to prevent that scout from decapping the sacred site. So really nice job there by Vertex. I guess that's what he was relying on. Instead of looking to wall up that sacred site, which probably would have taken him 20 seconds to do, and 20 seconds to walk over there, and 20 seconds to walk back, he instead buys himself a little bit more time. But perhaps Diakusi next time says, well, let's try it this time with 3 spears, and let's see how we go about decapping it then. At the same time, looks like he might be moving towards the south side. Any scholars in the chat? Let's take a look and see. It looks like we've got one on the way. He's heading out here. Looks like over towards the other side of the map. One of the Ghazi Raiders did go down. Second one going to be fighting up against that wolf. And the age up now coming through. It's going to be the compounder, the defender. So Vertex playing a style of Delhi that we have been familiar with for years at this point. Years? Yeah, I guess years. I guess you could say years. I mean, probably not years. Let's go seasons. For multiple seasons, we've been familiar with this style. So one of the important things here for Vertex is going to be making sure that he is able to get keeps up in the center of the map. Look to try and keep these sacred sites within his control. What have we got going on over here? The alternative is that he looks to push in towards the enemy base and look to put a keep down in a forward location, especially on gold like that. But now you can see the numbers starting to build up here for Diakusi. Sacred site not going to be contested. He's going to have to head off down to the second one. He has spotted it out down here. And the age up comes through. So now I'm looking for relics. Relics are the next big stage here. How many scholars have we actually got? We've only got the 2 scholars. So it's really not the healthiest scholar numbers here. And I think this is just a consequence of not picking up those sacred sites a little bit earlier. So you can see Delhi's a civilization that if you do make a mistake, if you do forget about something, it will cost you a large amount of time. Upgrades now going to be coming through though. Looks like he's picking up plenty of those T2 upgrades. You see the mining upgrade coming through. We see the lumber upgrade coming through. And of course, expect to see that horticulture upgrade coming through. He's also going for herbal medicine and just a couple more blacksmith upgrades. At the same time, a push towards the front here leaves him a little bit exposed. It's going to take his time. It's going to take some sweet damn time for this. Vertex, oh my lord, he's moving into knights. This could actually be absolutely terrible here for Diakusi. The first knight comes through. How many archers have we got? We got 29 longbows out, 8 spears. I don't feel like that's enough spears. Definitely not enough spears. Ideally, you'd love double-digit spear numbers. He does have the men-at-arms that can also look to try and take it. The problem that he's got is he's up against that stable and there is a scholar inside, which means it's going to be really fast production here. At the same time, we've got the Ghazi Raiders that are going to be coming through. I'm worried right now for Diakusi. Oh, I'm really worried for him. The army numbers are pretty even. 4,900 versus 4,500. Spears on the front. They're just going to be tanked up. Archers in the backside. They're going to be looking to try and pick off these spears. That's their only target. They don't care about the men-at-arms. They don't care about the longbows. All they care about are picking off these spears. Let's look to see how good the micro is. Vertex now. Still managing to hold it down on this front line. Archers begin to push forward. And now he's going to be looking to focus down those spears. There goes the first one. There goes the second one. Beautiful job right there. Just absolutely cleaning it up. At the same time, towards that top side, he just distracts the enemy with a Wololo. Oh, this is an absolute cleanup. Bit of a mistake from Diakusi pushing out in this position. He honestly, all he needed to do was go decap the Sacred Site and age up himself. Go up with the King's Palace, throw down that third TC, and you're fine. But you threw away your entire army. For what? What were we going to achieve with this? Your enemy just aged up. You know that they've got scholars in the stables? I feel like on one hand, we're casting this game, and on the other hand, we're doing a little bit of coaching, a little bit of critiquing. So I hope you guys don't mind, because obviously I don't want to be pointing out the flaws of the gameplay, but at the same time, it's hard not to when you see them in front of you like that. You know, it kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know if you've ever been around children, but they are brutally honest. If there is something that is wrong, they will point it out. I'll be like, what is wrong with your face? And you're just like, I was born like this. I'm just ugly. The genetics. What's genetics? It's like, that's the reason why I look like this, lady. I'm just kidding. But seriously. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move forward. Because now we've got ourselves a problem in the English base. There is absolutely nothing here to defend against this. A single spearman jumps out. The age up comes through. And Diakusi says, save me, Castle Age. What options does he have now that he's up? I mean, realistically, he could look to go into Knights himself. Would definitely be able to deal with what he's got, or what's been thrown out here. The other option is that he looks to try and stay under the TC with a longbow mass. We continue to hear relics being picked up. He's got 2 in the bank already. That's going to be the third one. And he's playing it greedy. Sacred Site as well, but I think he's in the enemy's base. He knows that he's going to be okay with this. There's really no stopping him here. And now looking to siege down this wall. He says, all right, let's do it. So, Diakusi has fortunately not lost a whole lot of villagers. Only 3 workers so far, which is pretty good. He's gone into the second TC here, but I can't help but feel like he's a little bit behind on where he should be. Vertex is picking up a whole bunch of upgrades now that are all coming in for free. Now, granted, he hasn't done a whole bunch with his scholars. Like, we haven't seen this guy making scholars at all. In fact, he's only got 3 out on the field at the moment. So scholars really not part of his vocabulary at this point in the game, 17 minutes through. But one of the things I'm looking out for is that potential Sacred Site victory. He could look to try and hold off the enemy here. Keep in mind, he's got the compound of the defender. Not researching anything in it, though. Ideally, we want to be looking to pick up our village fortresses as soon as we possibly can. Just because then we can start creating villages from our keeps. He's got plenty of villas here on stone. I'll switch it over to the income per minute so you guys can get a bit of an idea on where these guys are at compared to each other. Looks like we're sitting at about 1,850 compared to about 1,700, 1,750. So pretty similar when it comes to economies. Diakusi just ever so slightly ahead. But now villagers going to be forced off this gold vein. Still some longbows out here, yet to receive their veterancy upgrade. Armor cladding now going to be coming through as well for Diakusi. So looking to go into men-at-arms. So maybe we see men-at-arm crossbow combo coming out, which is quite nice. But at the same time, huge numbers of knights and cavalry behind enemy lines inside the base. Looking to try and take out a couple more villagers. He's managed to work his way up to 11 worker kills so far, Vertex has, and takes all 3 Sacred Sites now. The re-wall comes in, but I've got bad news for you if you're a Diakusi fan. It's not his wall. He's been walled in. Vertex walled him in. So now on that south side, Vertex has got the ability to run through, but his opponent does not. Not until that wall is sieged down. Men at arms and spears coming out. And definitely feels like Vertex is in control of this game. Diakusi's villager numbers continuing to fall. Might need to even think about adding in that third TC if he really wants to try and pull ahead here. Keep in mind he's going to have to deal with village fortresses. It's finally coming through. Researched, clicked about a minute ago. It's got boiling oil, court architects, slow burning defenses. Now, one of the things to note is he is within the Wi-Fi network. It's just that nobody is home on the Wi-Fi network. Quite literally, we are running dial-up back here. There is nothing buffing this up. These are just raw. He is raw dogging the deli right now. We can say that much. It is. It's not a pretty sight. But archers chased away by the spears and the men-at-arms, heading towards that keep. He's well and truly aware of the keep's presence. Second Sacred Site, though, unguarded. The Western Sacred Site also unguarded. Could look to turn the tides. Armor claddings come through. These archers going to have a tough time dealing with the men-at-arms here. And now that Sacred Site is being contested. He could go for a Wallalow. Just going to pop it inside. Probably the smart move, to be honest. Those men-at-arms, they do hurt. 12 damage apiece. And slowly that keep is going to grind them down. So doing a decent job there. Keep in mind, keeps have been nerfed recently. They used to cost 800 stone. Well, now they cost 900 stone. But of course, if you're playing as the Delhi Sultanate and you go for the compound of the defender, you're going to be reducing the cost of keeps by 20%, which means that instead of paying 900 stone, you're only paying 720. So it's still cheap. It's just not as cheap as it used to be. Keep coming up. In the center of these two gold veins. Another thing to note about Hill and Dale, the new version of this map does not include a large gold vein in the base. You used to get a large gold vein spawning up the back of the base. It was lovely. It's my favorite thing as China. I just sit in my base, make my granaries. Very, very happy. Grab my gold vein. I'd have so much gold. I remember just buying wood, buying stone, and using it. Just because it was like the only resource that you had in your base that could just go forever. Because you had wood, but the wood would run out at like 14, 15 minutes. But they've changed it quite a bit now. So all 5 relics have been picked up by Vertex. He's looking to wall in his opponent towards that north side. Stonewall's going to be coming in here for Duyukusi, just preventing any kind of raids. At the same time towards that south side. Rewall coming in for Vertex. And now more units beginning to move out. Running a purely infantry-based composition at the moment. No cavalry spotted out from the side of Duyukusi. Compare that over to Vertex. He's just been running lots of cavalry here. Just archers. Handful of crossbows now. But I do see one unit in queue that excites me greatly. There he is. It's the War Elephant. He's out. Ghazi Raiders together with the Lancers on the front. Looking to hold it down. He's going to have to retreat here to the keep if he wants to keep these guys alive. Men-at-Arms. They may not be very... There may not be a lot of them, but I tell you what, they do survive a very large amount of arrows. These guys can just take an arrow to the knee every single day of the week, and they are absolutely fine. First of the elephants is on the field, though. The Tower Elephant lives. Up towards that top side, it looks like a wolf is going to be getting in on the action. A couple of Vills going to be coming out for a counter by the looks of it. And now Duyukusi is going to be moving towards the middle of the map. Needs to secure gold. This is going to be really key here. Only 200 gold left on his base. So he's got to start thinking, where am I going to be taking gold? He's got an option down here to the south, which he's been on before. There is a keep nearby. Obviously, he's got space if he wants to go for it, but it always feels a little bit dangerous doing that, especially if your opponent's got line of sight. So the best candidate, I think, is going to be this central gold here in the middle, and that's exactly where he's going to go. Now, one of the big things is if you're looking to take a gold like this in the middle, it's almost mandatory that you throw a keep down on top of it. It's only a matter of time until your enemy begins to push in on this position, and you are going to wish you had a keep. So hopefully we see Duyukusi look to do that. I suspect there's still plenty of stone here on the outcropping. 600, 594. He's not gonna. He doesn't have enough for a keep, but he can just look to try and take some off this outcropping here instead. All right. Well, the numbers are building up. Duyukusi 30 villages ahead of his opponent. So he's gone for that second TC, also thrown in the third TC, which is definitely the right call. My fear is that it may have come a little bit too late here. Crossbows together with the longbows on the back side. Still yet to get the veterancy upgrade for the longbows. War Elephant will survive on barely a slither of health. He manages to get it back. Could look for a heal up, but he's only got the 3 scholars in the bag. Remember that. And now at the same time, crossbows and a single lancer looking to work away these villagers on the gold. We talk about having the keep or not having the keep, and boy, oh boy, don't you wish you had that keep right now. Just a nice little spot right here, protecting everything, but not today. Siege Workshop going to be thrown down. Double Siege Workshop. Jeez, don't mind if I do, says Duyukusi. He's got plenty of food in the bank. So what does he look to go with all that food? I'd be tempted to go into Horseman Men-at-Arms. I think Horseman Men-at-Arms is probably really strong in this game. Probably going to need to mix in spears as well. Horseman, spear, Men-at-Arms. Just keep it trashy. Nothing too crazy. Then that way you're spending all that food. Because he's got a lot of food income right now. Huge amount of villagers on farms. Let's take a look and see exactly how many we're talking. 53 farms. That is way too many farms for an English player, especially an English player with 103 villagers. That is more than half your economy on farms, my friend. That is a lot. War Elephant might be going down here. He's got to be careful to make sure it's not focused down, but the Men-at-Arms having some trouble in the front line. We talked earlier about how they can survive so many arrows. Well, it looks like now that the crossbow numbers have begun to build up, he's up to 13 crossbows, Vertex is. This game's getting a little bit more tough. 3 minutes. We're closing in on it until Sacred Victory. if you had to pick one way to go, which way is it? Do you head towards the west side? Do you sneak towards the east side? I actually don't know the answer to this question. I'd probably slow push towards west and try and sneak a single unit onto the sacred site to decap. I'd also look to try and sneak a unit down on this sacred site, but the problem is there's no easy way to do it. Your enemy has really good line of sight here as well, so they're going to know about that. So it makes it very difficult because you're walled in over on the east side, so I really don't know what way you go about it. You could oh yeah, this is where it gets really tough. Maybe I'd look to sneak in on the top. So take about 5 or 6 longbows and just walk them the long way. You want them all the way up towards the edge of the map and come down. And then I'd look at the same time to take this wall down and then push on this sacred site and make a threat like I'm going to hit this sacred site. And then at the same time, I am genuinely trying to take that sacred site, but I'm also watching out for the mangoes that have hit all of those villages. And don't you wish there was a keep here right now? Sure, it would be under pressure from the counterweight trebuchet, but your villagers would be safe from those mangonels. And now all of a sudden you've got no gold, no way to fold, and you're going to have to head back to the pavilion, but hold your phone. Infantry numbers are starting to build here for Duyukusi. He needs gold. Gold is what he needs right now. His villagers starting to look for it, starting to struggle. Infantry numbers really building up here. Keep in mind the difference that Vertex has got here is he's got that single mangonel, fires off towards the men-at-arms on the front. They're starting to struggle here. There's nothing to really deal with these men-at-arms from Duyukusi. The mangonel is going to be more than enough to drive back these forces, but take a look at this towards the northeast side, or rather towards the west side. Excuse my my directions here. Not the best when it comes to directions. Don't ask me where we parked the car. I've got no idea. It was blue. I know that much. Not the car, the zone. Do you guys do that in your country? We do it in Australia. We have like colored zones. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help. But anyway, the keep has gone down over on the west side, and to be honest, Vertex is not looking to contest this sacred site on the west side anywhere near as much as he should be. We are 1 minute away from sacred victory right now, and he has more than enough units to contest this sacred site. I've got no idea what he's doing. He could have easily come around here, but he says, I don't even want it. And Duyukusi says, well, that's fine if you don't want it. I don't want it either. He's not interested. No. Please tell me we have a sacred victory where Duyukusi could have stopped it and Vertex didn't want it, but Duyukusi just gave it to him. He's like, you know what? I don't want to play anymore. You know, Mum said it's time for dinner, and look, I can't quit because, you know, quitters never win, but at the same time, the sacred site's ticking. It's like, and my bangers and mash are getting cold. What do I do? I mean, Duyukusi, where do you reckon a guy named Duyukusi's from? I feel like it's got to be Italy, right? Like Duyukusi. I'm thinking like Kawasaki. No, that's Japan. What am I thinking? Like Ducati, Duyukusi. Duyukusi on Ducati? Yeah, sometimes I kusi on a Ducati. Anyway, sacred site looks like it is going to be neutralized here. A little bit disappointing. 33 seconds to go. Definitely could have been dealt with effectively here. The battering ram's also going to get thrown away. Duyukusi's maxed out, so I don't think he minds it too much. But the gold will finally become available here to Duyukusi in the north. And Vertex now really starting to mass up. I'm loving this composition here from Vertex. My main concern for Duyukusi, though, is a distinct lack of Springalds. He's got the one out, but that is nowhere near enough to contest what his enemy is throwing down. The double Springald together with the triple Mangonel. It's going to be more than enough to just drive away these forces. And he continues to batter away at the front line. So, I mean, we had an option for a victory over here, but, you know, sometimes you want to flex a little bit, you know? You've got the opportunity to finish the game, but it's like, I could finish it, or I could finish it in style. And then you get points for style. For anybody who doesn't know, you actually get more rating points when you finish in style. That is true. That is a true fact. That is not tautology right there, my friend. I think it's tautology. Mangonel, where are your wheels, sir? It's the ghost mango. I don't think I've ever spoken about it before. The reason why I say the ghost mango. When I was on deployment, there was this crab migration. And there's all of these crabs, like hundreds of millions of crabs that migrate. And I remember there was this one crab, it was like black and white. I'm not even kidding you. And one of the locals said to me, ghost crab. like that. Anyway, well, that's why I say Ghost Mango. Apologies. Sacred Site's been recaptured. We've got the triple Mango that's looking to fire off on the front line. He's doing a wonderful job here, Vertex. He's having a little bit of trouble, though. This Springald on the back is uncontested right now. Needs to make sure he pays attention. He's got the shot off beforehand. Sacred Site, neutralize it. New objective, neutralize the Sacred Site. Get it up there on your screens. Springald does eventually go down to an elephant, but the numbers here for Vertex are looking really strong. Keep in mind, he's up 40 workers, Duyukusi is, yet still, he's not able to overcome the numbers that Vertex is putting out. Really looking to fall back into the base. Does he have production back here? Please tell me he's got more production. Nothing back here at all. Oh, he's got a couple of Raxes, a couple of Rangers coming up as well. But the numbers, I tell you what, Duyukusi's having a lot of trouble dealing with this mass of elephants on the front, together with the siege. So anyway, that's why I call it the Ghost Crab. Sorry, not the Ghost Crab, but the Ghost Mangonel. It was, I remember, so it was on Christmas Island, and for anybody who's unaware, there's like 7 Christmas Islands. So it's not the Christmas Island you know unless you live in Australia. And yeah, I remember like all of the red crabs. There's so many. You Google like Christmas Island red crab migration. Dude, I'm not kidding you. There were crabs everywhere. I had like crabs coming up my toilet pipes. I had like crabs. I remember one night, like I got awoken by someone trying to open my sliding door. It wasn't a person. It was a crab. I'm not even kidding you. It was climbing on the sliding door. It was just like, there were crabs everywhere. And there were ghost crabs everywhere. Finally, that keep's going to be coming down. What we've been looking for since the beginning of the game. Vertex going to be looking to throw it down. Plenty of villagers here putting it down as well. How many are we talking right now? This is a decent number. They're under pressure. 18 villagers here. Mangonel's getting caught with their pants down. Looks like they're going to be covered up, though. Vertex doing a good job with the cavalry, just to make sure they're all covered up. Springles, though, off the top rope. Firing down. Looking to take out that Mango. He'll be able to find it as well. No Springles out for Vertex. Numbers starting to build up for him, but it looks like this keep will go up. But there's still a way for Duyukusi to hold this game. He's going to have to do it through siege. I still don't know how to deal with these tower elephants. I'm not going to lie. Spearman obviously does a great job, but that's when you're not paying attention. So now that Vertex is in the base, this is where he can start looking for Trebs. Trebs, Mangoes, Springalds, because he's got the keep up. And there's no getting underneath that keep. The best. Oh my God. Look at this, look at this, look at this. 21 crossbows in queue. 17, 18 men-at-arms in queue. 14 spears in queue. This is a man who did not scale his production effectively. Currently sitting on, what do we got, 11, 4, and 3? It's not pretty. It is not pretty. Obviously, he's lost a fair bit on the front. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, high 5. That's an Australian joke. If you get it, you're a 90s kid. And there's probably maybe 4 or 5 more that he lost here, but definitely feels like he needed to add in a bit more production on these back spots just to keep those reinforcements coming in. Numbers are rebuilding, albeit very slowly. Needs to get that re-wall up as well. Quite a bit open. Sacred Site is still ticking, but it looks like it does get denied. I didn't realize that it was getting neutralized over on this west side. We check in over on the east. This one's still open as well. He could look to start sieging this down. I'd love to see even just a couple of units down here just to try and put some pressure on, but obviously he's got to worry about the fight at home. That's where his fight is. So now that he's managed to get back maxed up at 200 of 200, he needs to take a fight, but he needs to make sure he's got lots of production back here ready to pop out. And battering rams ain't it, Chief. But I mean, at the end of the day, look at this. He's got 9 battering rams in queue. And, okay, there we go. And he cancels them. That is the correct play. Mangoes need to be coming out. And now looking to wall himself in with his enemy. He's walling himself into the enemy's base. This is a unique strategy. Let's see how it pans out for him. Wait, is he trying to protect the Trebs by walling himself in the base with his enemy? Maybe that's what he's looking to do. The Men-at-Arms doing a little bit of a run around here. It hasn't been since Hera was playing Age of Empires 4 that we've seen players do the, what do they call it? The big line, the conga line, the conga strategy. Underneath the keep, Vertex attempted to wall himself in. It looks like it should be successful, actually. Look at the numbers, man. I tell you what, Duyukusi is getting absolutely shredded here. So many ranged units to keep, but I think the main part is the elephants. I mean, there was that conga line as well. I don't think it worked particularly well. The numbers just looking really solid here. I think Vertex has got this one in the bag. The main threat it's going to have is those trebuchets, but it's not even going to matter. Good game gets called, and that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this game, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you check out these two creators. I'm going to leave a link down in the description to where you can watch them live. And of course, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.